So your parents are of a different culture completely, and they've never been of this culture. And while looking like you belong in this culture, everything that you know and you are is not of this culture, and it's not actually even close. So like we didn't really have racism, and so our first place that we lived was segregated, and we lived on the wrong part of segregation. So we didn't live with people that looked like us. We lived on the side of town with people that opposed us, and to be called something offensive and not know that the word being used to offend you was meant for that. So the first time I heard the N word, I thought they were over exaggerating or overusing the G in an African country, Niger. And so I was like, well, I'm not African. That's interesting. I'm not sure. Why do they keep saying I'm from Africa? Why do they keep saying I'm from Niger? And that's not how you say Niger. And so I was very taken back, like, I don't understand these people. And I thought the first time that I kept seeing all these orange and blue flags with stars, I thought that was for the Dukes of Hazzard. And I was like, yeah, the General Lee, that's a cool car. Didn't know it had anything to do with slavery. Didn't know anything about this. My dad's Indian. My mom's Afro-Caribbean. And so, like, they grew up in Canada. So their journey had no American heritage. And when they got here, I arrived. And that's how they were able to be here, is because I was born here. So my dad wasn't here. My mom was visiting her brother, and I was born. Her brother, he's just as Jamaican as the day he left. He doesn't sound like he's lived here for 45 years. He sounds like he's visited for 45 minutes. He sounds very, very Jamaican. And so it was a lot trying to figure out how to navigate hair, food, so many different things, religion. It was a very intense thing to understand.
Did he put you at an advantage or a disadvantage?
It put me at a very clear advantage. So when you have somebody who's telling you you're supposed to fear somebody, and well, that's this person, and you can see typically when older blacks are around older whites, they maneuver a little different. They're a little gentle around those people. They might walk off the curb. They might walk around. They might greet them differently. They might kind of slope their shoulders and not stand as tall. They might do these less than powerful things amongst oppressors. I didn't grow up with that. And so I was able to challenge anything that anybody said without guilt, without feeling any kind of way. So like if somebody had something to say to me that was less than appropriate, no problem. But another advantage it gave me is that I didn't grow up thinking that I needed this accent, and I call it an accent. And sometimes people are offended by that because I have a lack of accent. So a lot of times when people hear me talk, they're like, "Why do you talk like that?" And I have no understanding of talk like what. Like I enunciate. If the word is written this way, I pronounce it this way, and like based on where you are, culturally, ethnically, you'll pronounce things different. And so a lot of the twang that African Americans use is historically from the South and from a different time. And so it's kind of like if you lived in the UK long enough, you may after a while start to develop an accent. If you live in another English-speaking country that has a different accent, you might develop an accent. I never developed an African-American accent because it was definitely not accepted in my home. And I tried a few times. Like I'd come home, the influence of my friends and things that I hear on the playground, and I'd be like, man, this. And my mom was like, you're not to speak that way. That is not your culture. And so like, you're not to dress that way. You're not to speak that way. We don't move that way. We don't eat those foods. You can try them, but then after a while, I'd eat certain things. I'm like, I actually don't like how that tastes. And so when you're here and people don't understand your culture as is, it's difficult. So everything I did was Bob Marley, smoke weed, Rastafari, and reggae music. It's like, no, that's not all it is to be Jamaican. There's so many aspects of being Jamaican, so many aspects of being Trinidadian. So I'm not just black. I'm actually East Indian also. My father's East Indian, and so like that's a whole nother aspect because I'm not Indian enough either, and I'm not black enough. I'm not American enough, but I'm also not Jamaican enough, and I'm not enough. I'm not the rest of my family lives in the UK. I'm not British. So there's this thing that allows me, since I'm a nomad and I'm from nowhere but grew up somewhere, it allows me to not fall into these social construct traps, and where I feel very free in my mind.